Hello, and welcome back to the Beginner's Guide to C#. In this lesson, we're going to talk about methods in C#, what they're used for, and show a brief example of how you can incorporate them into our sample program. So let's go ahead and get started. So what are methods? Methods really consist of a block of code. You can see an example of a simple method on the right-hand side of the slide. They're really used to make a program more modular and easier to code and maintain. You can break down the program logic into simple pieces that are contained within each method. So typically a method should be a short amount of code and dedicated to one single logical function. Methods can also return a value based on the method type. If you look at the example on this screen, this method returns a string. So let's look at the syntax of methods in C#. To declare a method in C#, you need the following items. You need an access specifier, a return type, and a method name, along with a parameter list of parameters that you would pass into the method, followed by the method body. The access specifier determines the visibility of the method, and we'll talk more about this in the lesson on object-oriented programming in this class. The return type determines what type of value is being returned by the method, and in the previous slide we looked at a method that returns a string. The method name is simply what the method is called. You would usually use a name that's representative of the function that the method is providing. The last part is the method body, which is simply the code that the method is comprised of and contains all the programming logic. So for the example in this lesson, we're going to add a method called getName to our program to help simplify our program. We'll move all of the code that we had to just return to prompt the user to enter the name and to read the name into a new method. This will make it easier for us to add more code in the next few chapters, and we'll be adding more methods as we go on. So this is the code we'll be adding to our program. We'll actually be moving a big chunk of the program from the main method to our new method called getName. Notice that our method will return a string, which is the name that's entered, and we've added the 3 lines from our main method that were before, and we've now moved them into the getName method. So you'll see that we've have the same code basically, but we're just moving it into a different portion of our program. And in the last part, the string, my name, is returned to the main method. So let's go ahead and look at Visual Studio and see how this whole thing looks and how we fit the whole thing together. Okay, now that I'm on my computer, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my project directory, and I'm going to make a copy of our first project we did, the Hello World project. So I'm going to copy the folder, and now I'm going to go ahead and paste after I've selected copy. And I've got a copy of the folder, and I'm going to rename the folder Chapter 7. So we'll do this now at the beginning of each exercise moving forward to separate our lessons. So I'll open the solution file now under Chapter 7, and we'll make our changes to add in our new method into the program. So we'll go ahead and click on the solution file and let Visual Studio load that up. It'll take just a second, and it wants to make sure that it's a trustworthy source, and it is, since we just made our own copy of it. So it's going to go ahead and open the solution. It'll take just a second for that, and once it does, I'm going to open up the program file, and we'll see our familiar program that we had in the last lesson. So now, right underneath the main method, I'm going to create a shell, or a stub if you were, of the method, and I'm going to call it getName. So I'm declaring public static actually it's a string. Sorry about that. I'll enter in a string and getName for our method name, and then I'll close it off with the 2 parentheses. And I'm going to cut and paste and move a big chunk of our original code down into our method. So I'm going to take actually the first 3 lines here, and I'll copy this and move it down into the method body. So now we're moving the majority of the program logic now into our method. So I've moved it, and I'll go ahead and remove most of the piece out of main. I'll leave one small fragment here. So I'll go ahead and cut that out, and now I'll enter in our name to call our new method that we're creating. So I'll say that my name is equal to getName, which is our method, And I'll have to remember to add a declaration for this string, so I'll just add that right above it. So I'll declare the string for getName, because now we have the string has to be declared both in the main method and in our new method getName. And also I have to add a return value to return the string from our function back to our main method. So now we have our main method in place and in our new method to isolate reading in, prompting the user to enter their name and getting the name. So I've just done the compile here. Let's see, I'll add a quick comment in to make sure that we have it, and I'll go ahead and compile this and make sure that everything works okay. And if you look at the bottom left, you can see that it's now compiling and it's compiled successfully. So you can see that down at the bottom. And now I'll go ahead and run the code. So I'll select Start Without Debugging, and now I'll go ahead and make sure that our program works as it did before, and it does. And so there we have it. We've now written our first method, and you can see that now the program is getting a little more modular and a little bit easier to understand. So there we have it. We've added our first method, and just to summarize, methods are really used to help organize programs and make larger programs a little bit easier to manage and understand. You like to keep the method implementation fairly short so that each method does one particular thing. We've added one single method to our program to move the code to get our name into a method called getName, which returns a string. And we'll add some more methods in future lessons to illustrate new language elements as we introduce them. So we'll be in the process in each lesson probably adding at least one method in every lesson moving forward in this class. So that's it for this lesson. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.